I want you to think of your bicep as a Wagyu steak, beautifully marbled with fat. It doesn't sound too attractive. And that's exactly what we don't want. You see, there is a pretty significant difference between the consumption of monounsaturated fats, polyunsaturated fats, and even saturated fats when it comes down to how we store fat in our muscle. But it's less about what's happening in a cross-sectional biopsy of our muscle and more about mechanistically what that's doing. Specifically when it comes down to our ability to process glucose, insulin resistance. It's fascinating, but I have some simple dietary shifts that you can make that will make this potentially. So here's the thing, I'm not saying that you need to throw your cheese away. I love my goat cheese, I love my feta cheese, I love my raw cheddar, I just love that stuff. But we have to count how much saturated fat we're bringing in. The big problem comes with people that are already walking the path towards insulin resistance. And here's what I mean. As you become insulin resistant, you also develop an inability to take fats into the right place. Let me put it like this. Insulin still regulates how lipids, fats, get into a fat cell. Okay? We think insulin only has to do with carbohydrates. It has to do with fats too. So if you're becoming insulin resistant or even have mild insulin resistance, what happens when you consume saturated fats is those fats can't get into the fat. They can't store in the fat tissue, which sounds good at first, right? Like, hey, cool, I can eat fat and it won't store. Yeah, that's great. Except then it circulates through the bloodstream, and then what it does is it infiltrates the skeletal muscle. So you end up with this nicely marbled muscle with fat in it, which sounds good if you were gonna eat it, but we wanna use it. And the more that your muscle is marbled with this fat, then that's going to impede insulin from doing its job at the muscular level. So guess what happens? You walk that path more and more into potential insulin resistance. Saturated fat, I'm not trying to sound like someone that's pushing a weird agenda here. I'm just saying maybe we need to reduce it a tiny bit and sub it out for other fats. And this isn't just like Thomas's gobbledygook of the day. This is legit stuff. When you have fat that is in the muscle, you are impeding insulin signaling. That is a serious thing that can affect cognitive function, can affect your waistline, can affect your glucose, a bunch of other things. There was a study that was published in the journal Endocrinology. This particular one was a petri dish study to show the mechanism, and then I have a human study to put it all together. Okay, what they found is that when they combined high levels of glucose along with high levels of saturated fat in a petri dish with pancreatic cells, it triggered cell apoptosis. It triggered the cells to just die, to self-destruct. Not good. When they combined polyunsaturated fats, like those from fish oil, things like that, along with higher levels of glucose, only mild apoptosis, mild toxicity. When they combined monounsaturated fats, like from avocados, avocado oil, olive oil, guess what? They combined that with glucose, no effect, no negative effect. That's not to say that you never eat meat, and I'm not saying that at all. In fact, if you want to really get granular with it, polyunsaturated fats are in fish. So I'm not pushing a plant-based agenda. It's not my motive here. My motive is to actually preach what I've been preaching for years, which has been a more Mediterranean-focused diet. Getting leaner cuts of meat, or ones that have polyunsaturated fats or monounsaturated fats like pork, and then the leaner cuts of beef, and then add the fats in through the polyunsaturated fats like the fish oil, and add the fats in like the olive oil, the avocados, the avocado oil. It doesn't need to be a big, beautiful salad with quinoa and berries. It can be a nice looking salad with some salmon and a little bit of prosciutto and a little bit of olive oil and some avocado on it and a little bit of filet. It can be pretty, okay? It can be awesome. It can be cool and have a positive impact. So what about this human study I was talking about? So this study was published in the journal Diabetology. They took a look at people that ate a relative high amount of saturated fat. They said, hey, for a couple of weeks, we're gonna have you swap out saturated fats for polyunsaturated fats. So you can easily swap out maybe steak for fish or something. I don't know, whatever, that's just me talking. So what they found with this is they improved their glucose management, they improved insulin sensitivity, they were able to handle glucose better, and guess what else? They reduced abdominal fat. Why would they reduce abdominal fat? Well, it's simple. If you are less insulin resistant, then you're going to have less glucose circulating and ultimately going through de novo lipogenesis. It can help you out. So again, what is a rule of thumb to follow? 20% of your total fat calories, okay? Total fat calories should be saturated fat. The rest should be a myriad of poly and monounsaturated fats. 20% of your fat calories from saturated fat is actually still a lot of saturated fat. So you can still eat the cheese, you can still eat that stuff, just count it. And instead of adding random saturated fats, get your saturated fat from good sources and then add the other fats in as you need to. This is seeming to be a powerful thing when it comes down to metabolic dysfunction. Anyhow, as always, keep it locked in here on my channel. I'll see you tomorrow.